Items Plus Size Luxury, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to buy pre-loved luxury items and just general tips in the whole process. I know it can be a little overwhelming and intimidating, all the options that are out there, and then there's that constant worry like, is this a replica? Is it a fake? So these are just my general tips. I recently did a video, if you're also interested, in how to sell your items on the multiple different websites that are out there, like Fashionphile and The RealReal, and then other avenues that are pretty unique, like Facebook groups and Instagram, and I'll link that video above. But let's jump right into the topic at hand today. I'm going to break this up into 3 segments. These are the 3 things that I think are very important to focus on when you're buying luxury items online, pre-loved luxury items online. So, and I'm just looking down at my notes. So the first thing to do is research. You want to research the item in particular, and then either the seller or the company that you're going to be buying it from. So I recommend that you actually go to the website so you're able to see how the description and dimensions are. If you're able to go in person, actually look at the item, touch the item, and take pictures so you know what the item looks like in store. That's one of the things I like to do. So generally, when you have that base photo or stock photo that you're comparing to the pre-loved item that you're looking at, you can just look at it side by side and be like, like the stitching looks off here. Is this an older model? Is this a newer model? You know, the color looks a little bit different here, all that kind of stuff. So you're able to just look at it side by side and make your own independent judgment on if it's a real item or not, just at first glance, looking between these 2 photos. So that's something I recommend. So I like to look on Fashionphile or RealReal or any other local consignment or luxury pre-loved website that you have, and just see how things wear and how things age. So for instance, I was looking at Wallet on Chains the other day, and I looked on Fashionphile, looked at one that was from 2017, I believe, and I could see that it had a lot of corner wear, and it seems like the zipper on the interior indents the flap on the inside. So those are the normal wear and tear things, and you're able to see that and compare it to the pre-loved item and be like, you know, this seems to be peeling. This seems to be doing something it doesn't seem to be wearing and aging like other ones that I have seen. So that's sort of like a hint. Like sometimes they might have something unique. You know, metallic leather is different from patent leather and all that kind of stuff. So you want to find something similar. But I think it's just a good hint and just a visual cue. And like, okay, this is, you know, it's, of course it's might be a little roughed up or a little aged, but it's not even wearing like the authentic items wear when I look at these websites. So I think that's also a very good clue. The second part of this is researching the sellers. So if it's like the big box companies like The RealReal and all that kind of stuff, you can just check the reviews, you can check feedback on Facebook. You can see if you can get personal experiences from other people you've known that have shopped there or YouTubers. It's a lot easier to get feedback on the big box companies because you're able to check the reviews and stuff like that. But when it comes to like individual independent sellers, like on Facebook groups or Instagram and stuff like that, it's a bit harder. There's a number of ways you can research independent sellers. First off, I would ask them if they could put me in contact with a recent buyer so I can ask of their experience. You can do like a post on for instance, on Instagram or on Facebook and say, hey, has anyone had an experience with this particular seller? And the seller will usually like drive people to that post so that they can post their feedback under there. They might have an individual post on their own where they ask people that have recently purchased from them to post their feedback. You can also ask if anyone has used this particular seller on like Purse Forum. So there's multiple different ways. The issue that you face with this is you might encounter people that have a bigger scam going on. They might say, hey, yeah, this person bought from me recently, and it's like his friend or something like that. So it is tough. You have to do a judgment call. You have to see, like, has this person been selling for months, years, and has like posts going back from X, Y, and Z? Because I mean, if they have posts going back years, you know, and they're scamming people, that they wouldn't be on there in the first place. So these are just sort of things you have to look out for. If it's a new person that's selling something, then you have to think about like, am I okay with the amount of risk in this? So like, if it's a $500 item, okay, I can take a chance on someone, I get a good vibe. But if it's a $10,000 item or a $5,000 item, I don't think I would purchase from a new person just on the scene. So that's one of the things. You just have like a personal decision to figure out what your tolerance is and what you're willing to do there. That goes into my second tip. There's like general like buyer protection. So for instance, on PayPal, if you mark something that's being sold from like a consumer from a merchant and stuff like that, you can put in a claim if there's something wrong, if it doesn't show up, if the box is empty, all that kind of stuff. You're able to have a dispute resolution service through PayPal so that they can reimburse you if there's anything wrong. But if you choose to do like, a Zelle or something that doesn't have any buyer protections, that's obviously going to be very risky. And typically a lot of sellers, they'll say one price for Zelle and then another price for PayPal, which includes like their 3% fee because they don't want to cut into their profit margin, right? I'm willing to pay that extra 3% just for the buyer protections. If they're only allowing like, Zelle and that kind of stuff, again, you have to figure out, is this a lot of money? Am I okay with losing this? Do I have any avenues to dispute this in case something goes wrong? That kind of thing. So that's just another personal decision that you have to make based on the vibe you get from the seller, the feedback that you receive, how long they've been on the website, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely don't recommend it as a newbie. I would just sort of sit back and observe a little bit, ask for advice. I think pre-loved purchases at first should start on the big box websites because they have a return policy and all that kind of stuff. So you'll be covered in case anything is wrong. When you get on the Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, then it gets more risky because you have to figure out, is this a scam? All that kind of stuff. So if you're doing your first purchase, I would go big box. If you're going to do individual, I would make sure they accept PayPal or I think even Venmo. I think Venmo also has buyer protection. So whatever service you use, just make sure it has some sort of way to mark it as a purchase and a sale and not just like a friend-to-friend transfer. Otherwise, you'll have no protections. And then if the next level is if you're actually going to do it with the Zelle and like no protections and stuff like that, are you comfortable if anything goes wrong that you might not be able to get this money back? So I just want to caveat all of that. And most people I like to believe in the best in people, but you still have to be wary and cautious and do your due diligence and just hope for the best. But again, there can be a lot of scams in this area, so be careful. And that brings me to my final point. So you've received the item, it is as described and everything is fine and you carefully vetted and all that kind of stuff. So the last step is authentication. Even if you are fully confident and you've looked at the pictures and stuff like that, get it professionally authenticated. I don't recommend just posting it on a Facebook group or a forum and like, what do you guys think? Blah, blah, blah. Because number one, it annoys a lot of people when you do that kind of stuff. Number two, they're just going to say, why don't you talk to X, Y, and Z and just pay the $10 and have it authenticated? And three, the people in the comments are not professionals. So they could say yes, or it could be the scammer themselves putting their friends in the comment and being like, yeah, it looks fine, girl. So it's just, I would just hire a professional. I will link the two companies that I use. I usually use Zico for all of my Chanel items, Dr. Runway for my Louis Vuitton items. And I haven't found anyone for my jewelry items, so I'm taking a little bit of a risk there. So I haven't been able to find anyone. If you have any recommendations, my general way of authenticating my fine jewelry items like my VCA and my Cartier ring, I just bring them to the store and I get them serviced or something like that. Typically they will not, usually they will not service an item if it's fake. So I've been able to have this service and my ring service, so I feel confident that they're real items. So that's just a way to get your jewelry items authenticated. And I think, if you purchase a handbag and you bring it to Louis Vuitton or Hermes or Dior and you're like, hey, I would like to get this service, they're going to reject it if they think that it's fake. So that's a way to do it. But I would just prefer pay like the $25 to $35 it would take to get it authenticated by a professional so that you're at ease and you have full confidence in your items. So those are my 3 tips. So research the item / research the seller. Number 2, make sure that you have a transaction that's covered by some sort of buyer protection. such as PayPal or Venmo or some other similar service. But if you are going to be doing the direct transfer, bank transfer, Zelle, and all that kind of stuff, make sure that you've done enough in step one, that you feel comfortable with the process. And then finally, when you receive your item, make sure that you use a professional to authenticate it so that you can walk around with full confidence knowing that it is not a fake or a replica. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope this was a helpful video for you. I know it can be, again, a scary process because you're just like, oh gosh, like what's going on here? But I hope I gave you a bit more confidence getting into this process, or if you're already in it, some general tips that will help you be more confident in your purchases. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.